Hi, this is Dr. Gayle MacBride, and I just wanted to thank you for getting all the way to the end of season 2. I hope you've enjoyed this season with all of our guests. We are busy working on season 3, so I want you to watch out for it to drop in early 2026. In the meantime, enjoy a mix of rerun episodes that have been curated for you by our intrepid host, Michael MacBride. These rerun episodes are a mix of the most listened to, the least listened to, and all of our guests. We're going to give them a repeat performance as well. So thank you for following along with us on this journey. Don't forget to like, comment, and share. This helps us get more listeners. And please, even though we are on a break, we are watching our mailbag. So thanks for listening and look forward to season 3 in 2026.
Well, hey there. You've stumbled upon the intersection of internet quandaries and psychological insight. Welcome to Veritas Views on AITA, where the quirks of the internet meet the expertise of Veritas Psychology Partners.
Thanks for joining us. I'm your host, Michael MacBride. I'm joined by our dynamic duo of psychologists.
Hi, I'm Dr. Gayle MacBride, and I am thrilled once again to bring you our Veritas Views AITA edition with my business partner and colleague, Dr. Daniel Kessler, who is a psychologist who really gives a grounded perspective. And honestly, Dan, you do a great job of helping your clients not even feel like they need that third cup of coffee in the morning. Welcome. I'm on number 2.
I got nothing there. No, I'm glad to be here. Looking forward to this is always like these the debates around whatever are always. I enjoy this process, and this is part of the fun part of being a psychologist is really picking apart human behavior. And so thankful the internet gives us such a wonderful opportunity to pick apart human behavior in such an interesting way.
It is a rich cauldron of human behavior.
So, Michael, what do you have for us today?
Yeah, these conversations about whatever, I feel like is the fairest way of describing kind of what I throw at you. Welcome, both of you. For any of the newbies out there, essentially I've gone out and I found a post on the internet where somebody has put forth a scenario and asked for the judgment of the internet. Who's the asshole here? And Dan and Gayle are going to look at that and kind of piece it apart and give us some thoughtful, I don't know.
Insights.
Insights. Yeah, I like that.
Discussion,
Insights, thoughtful
conversation.
insights, and have side conversations and all that stuff to kind of unpack it. I've gone through and I've kind of depersonalized the post and just to make it a bit more discreet. And as always, stick around through the credits. We always have a bonus conversation on the other side of it. So neither Dan nor Gayle know what I'm going to throw at them. And
but we're going to serve it up like 80s punch top of the It's going to go down smooth.
Nice throwback.
Link in
to
the
last
show notes
week.
to our discussion of 80s era punch. So there you go.
Previous episode. Tune in if you didn't hear it.
Yeah, definitely. I'll make sure to link to that. I will give you guys a heads up. And I intentionally chose this one because it straddles. I mean, we're in this period right now where we're between Father's Day and Mother's Day. And those are two holidays that have a mixed bag of feelings and emotions. And this definitely deals with one of those. And so it might not be the funniest, but I think it'll be a thoughtful conversation. I'm interested to see what you guys come up with. So anyway, the topic is, am I the asshole for telling my daughter-in-law she is not a mother? It's very direct and to the point.
Well, that depends on whether or not she is a mother.
Yeah.
I'm just right now going to go on a limb and say yes.
Yeah. If you have to ask the question.
Yeah, I got it. I'm going to project this is like the stepmother kind of a thing who's been a mother. Well, let's hear it. But I'm going to already say, yes, you're an asshole. Go ahead, Michael.
Yeah. So the poster says, I'm a 64-year-old mom with 3 grown kids, all married. This post is about my son and his wife. She has struggled with infertility and doesn't have children. My other son and his wife are expecting their first baby next month, and my daughter just had her first child, a grandson for me. Everyone was busy on Mother's Day, which I completely understood. They're all starting families of their own and busy. To celebrate the day, I thought it would be nice to send small gift baskets to my daughter and my expecting daughter in law just to acknowledge their new or upcoming motherhood. My son's wife saw a picture of the baskets in our family group chat and called me soon after asking where her basket was. At first, I was confused. I even thought she might be telling me she was pregnant, but she clarified that since her two dogs are my first grandkids, she expected a Mother's Day basket also. I honestly thought she was joking. I told her that Mother's Day is for women raising children, not pets. She got really upset, cursed at me, and insisted she's a real parent. Now my son is telling me that I owe her an apology and should send her a basket. He says I was out of line for dismissing her as just a pet owner, but I still don't feel like I did anything wrong. Am I the asshole here?
Oh boy.
Oh,
I you had me up until
yeah.
the response. Like,
This one's such a tough
this
one.
is really
This is
tangled and
really hard
involved.
because, Gail, you and I both work with people struggling with fertility, and it's such an intensely painful thing as these holidays come up. You know,
Hmm.
everyone is celebrating Mother's Day and or Father's Day, and you don't have children and you desperately want them, and these holidays can be so incredibly painful to go through. Um, so like I just want to acknowledge that the pain this woman is probably going through as she approaches Mother's Day. Um, I've silenced Gail MacBride.
I have nothing to add. You're
Yeah,
absolutely right. I mean, this is an incredibly painful reminder on a really difficult journey to becoming pregnant.
yeah,
And this does have a lot of tough feelings that arise.
right.
Um, so absolutely, I think calling that out and acknowledging it for those who struggle with infertility and loss during pregnancy. I mean, this is
Oh,
really, really difficult stuff.
yeah. And when
And
we talk about, oh, go ahead.
no, and I think that this is the front loading of this really needs to acknowledge how hard that is and I'll go into it in a moment, but I think motherhood is an identity. Parenthood is an identity. And when you choose that identity, where does that begin and end? And I think that's our conversation today. Go on, Dan. I
Yeah.
interrupted
No, no,
somebody.
I agree, and we talk about this idea of how challenging Mother's Day can be for people who are not parents,
Yeah.
and want to be parents. Um, but I mean, this there's it, and what the identity of being a mom is versus the identity of not being, and does this obviously OP's daughter-in-law has sort of taken on this like I'm not having a baby. These are my kids, like doing what she can, and whether we agree or disagree with that perspective, like this is her reality and how she's coping with this incredibly challenging thing in her life.
Hmm. And I think it's so hard because so often it just feels like the one thing that we want so badly, and it feels entirely out of our control. Medicine can intervene and help, but it doesn't always fix it. So
It
this is a,
doesn't.
this is a painful spot that this lady's daughter-in-law is in, and I do think OP has really missed the mark in terms of how painful this journey is, and
Yeah.
it feels flaunty to then put pictures of the gift basket into the thread. Now, OP doesn't say that she put the gift basket pictures there, so perhaps the
Right.
daughter or daughter-in-law, said, "Oh, thank you so much," and they put it in the thread, maybe never even guessing that the third woman in this scenario didn't receive one
Right.
or would have feelings about it or something. But I don't
Right.
like OP's response to the daughter-in-law as dismissive. And I would have liked OP to be more thoughtful about, I've got a gift basket for my daughter, I've got a gift basket for my daughter-in-law, and I have a third daughter-in-law who I probably know has been on this infertility journey. even acknowledging it in some way, even if it wasn't in kind and 100% the same as the gift basket, but something
Yeah, I am
probably should have
fully
been done.
I'm fully unwilling at this point to call her an asshole, though. Despite my willingness before hearing the story to call her an asshole,
Mm.
I'm no longer willing to call her an asshole. I agree with you on that. You moved my the position I was about to take before I heard
Mm.
what you said, Gail, was like to kind of let her off the hook almost completely and say,
Oh no.
yeah, you've moved me on this one because my first thought was like I could see myself in the moment going, oh, I mean, I probably wouldn't because I'd be worried about how they're dealing with her infertility. But I could see like in the moment her kind of, and then like suddenly realizing that she screwed up and trying to figure out a way out of it in the middle of the screw up. Like, oh no, I thought I was, oh my gosh, what, and then just handling it badly. That said, if I were in her shoes and knew about the person struggling with infertility, I'd want to find some way of acknowledging that. And I'm not sure what the best way is. A call ahead of time, a discussion, a gift basket about like a self-care gift basket.
Mhm. Yeah,
I could totally see the opportunity missed here.
I think, yeah, for sure.
But what an and Mother's Day and Father's Day are, I mean, not to sidetrack this too much, but these are tough holidays for a lot of people. People who had really bad relationships with a parent, who had parents who were harmful to them. We've worked
Mhm.
with folks who are struggling with like, how do I respond to Mother's Day when mother wasn't a good person, or when I have a bad relationship with mother, or when the mother was harmful, or and mother has passed away and was a great person. Like all of these things.
All of
I mean,
those.
Mother's Day is not this like universally joyful day. There's an awful lot of people really struggling with an awful lot of pain on Mother's Day.
And so many different people have different interpretations of what Mother's Day means and who you celebrate on that day. I sometimes have people come in my office and say, my wife isn't my mother. Why would I celebrate that? And I think, oh my God,
Yeah,
my
don't do
person I
that.
think of,
So just to be clear about this one thing, men who are listening here, if you have a partner, a wife, and she is raising your children and she's the mother, or maybe raising children and isn't, you're saying to yourself, oh, I don't need to celebrate her. She's not my mother. You're wrong. That's asshole behavior. Like you celebrate her. It's a special day for her and she's involved. And that when I every time I've heard someone say, oh, my husband said this, or had a man say, "Oh, she's not my mother." No, no, don't do that. That's
you
that
know,
like
interesting. I never hear women say, I don't celebrate Father's Day for my husband because he's not my father. Never
never,
have heard a
never
woman say
once,
that.
never once, never once. You don't
Just
know.
an observation. Saying,
It's a good observation, and it's something I hadn't thought of, and I feel a little embarrassed I hadn't thought about that. But I mean, but yeah, we don't ever hear that from women.
no.
They celebrate Father's Day, so no, you celebrate Mother's Day
I mean, to be
or
fair,
the
we do
mother.
celebrate Father's Day by letting him cook on the grill. Far fewer mimosas are consumed, more beers, and he still gets to cook.
Let's just. I mean, I'm a dad, and again, I don't mean to be ever disparaging, but there's Mother's Day. It's a bigger day.
Eh, Well,
As well it should be. As well it
so
should.
uh, back to the discussion, which then is how broadly do we reach and think about Mother's Day? The daughter-in-law here is not claiming Mother's Day status based on the infertility and the decision to become a parent, which is where I absolutely leaned into this scenario. Is I've decided to be a parent. I have, at that point, if we're letting science intervene, we have been trying for children probably for a year or more, and undergoing medical testing and all, like, we're deep into decisions that
Right.
you make because you want to be a parent. And I am so surprised, and I'm not quite sure what I want to do with this when the pivot is I'm a mother because I have these dogs. I would disagree. I think you're a mother because you made the decision to try to become a parent.
Yeah,
But but the embrace of the pet throws me a little.
yeah, I get that. I in this it doesn't throw me. I've certainly seen and
Oh, I've
talked to
seen it.
people and do this and no, I mean I've been a parent, I've been a pet owner. I don't consider myself to be a parent, a dad to my cats. And I no disparaging to anyone who does think of themselves that way. We all get to define our own roles in our own ways. But um, I really, I would, I'm disappointed in OP. Not so much angry at her being like I don't think she's being an asshole, but I'm disappointed that she missed how tough this day is going to be for her son and daughter-in-law who are struggling with infertility, and how hard that might be for them to get this basket, see this basket in the
Mhm.
group chat. I mean, there's an opportunity there to express whatever, to acknowledge what her struggles. There was a, it was a, I'm not, again, it's not, I don't know that it rises to asshole level in my world, because there's no intent to be a jerk here, but she missed the
Mhm.
mark. She missed an opportunity.
I, I I mostly agree with you. And I don't want to be dismissive at all of pet ownership. And especially, I think dog owners tend to see themselves as parents of the dogs, maybe
Probably.
because dogs act like, toddlers longer and
Yeah.
cats, asshole
Yeah, that's
teenagers.
true. That's true.
And so maybe we feel less needed as cat owners. And that's fine, and
Right.
I'll allow it. I'm not making that judgment on this daughter-in-law for that reason. I just am surprised in the scenario with the pivot. But I think you said it well earlier, which is I think she's coping with this by really maybe leaning into that pet parenthood, which, okay, fine. I think mom, I am the OP, I think I am more disappointed in and am more negatively judgmental about the miss, maybe in my own daughter-in-law status. Like I can maybe put myself in that position and think, gosh, if my sister-in-laws had received some acknowledgement and I didn't, it would feel really like an affront. It would feel like a bit of a slap in the face. I think that I think mother OP is for me, she's more in, she's her behavior sucks, and
Yeah.
Ian may be mildly dickish. Her reaction to the daughter-in-law was incredibly
Dismissive.
unfortunate and dismissive. And then, we have a kind of sucky response. I am maybe of a different era, but I just don't see value in stomping my foot and saying, "You got everybody else a gift. I want my gift too." Like
Yeah.
I
No,
I get feeling hurt. I
I,
want her to have that conversation. I feel
yeah.
hurt by this, but there feels like there's an and again, maybe this is not how it went down because we're only given information by OP, so maybe this is how OP heard it, not actually what the daughter-in-law said. I can allow for that. But if the daughter-in-law's response is, "I want one too," like I think the frame on that is wrong, which is,
Yeah.
"Hey, this is really unfortunate, and I can understand why you maybe didn't see it in this way. This is how I'm experiencing it. It's a pretty tough day." And
Yeah.
your acknowledgement of that would have meant a lot to me, not "I want a gift basket." Like, I
Yeah.
think demanding a gift from someone is not just in poor taste. I think it, when you get it, it leaves the sourness because now you only gave it to me because I told you I wanted a gift, as opposed to I
Right.
was just hurt that I didn't receive it. And I think
No,
messaging is a little different.
no one handled this great.
No.
No one handled this great, and I want to be as understanding as I can about how hard this is for everyone involved. Um, with between the struggle with infertility, and it being Mother's Day, and hurt feelings and angry, everyone handled this badly.
So, minor third characters. The brother-in-law, the sister-in-law,
No.
do they have any piece of standing up here and saying, "Oh, right, like I noticed that this happened, and I just want to shout out to whatever her name is, and
Yeah.
happy Mother's Day. I know this has been, kind of a bittersweet journey for you. We're thinking of you today too as you navigate your own." Like they could have sent a kind and supportive message, which by the way would have been like, "Hint, hint, mother-in-law. You
No, yeah,
missed
I think there's an opportunity for them.
I don't think they're assholes. I just,
No,
character
I
discussion here."
for bringing the minor characters, there certainly was an opportunity to say, um, to acknowledge this on the part of the other folks as they go through um I don't know that I wouldn't call them assholes for not doing it, for not stepping in. But it would have certainly been a nice thing to have done, to have acknowledged her on that day, while they were opening their own gifts and going through it. Like, even a phone call, like, how are you? Like, how are you doing
Yeah.
today? Like, or like tomorrow, there's going to be stuff posted. How are you? That would have been a thoughtful place to reach out, and we often don't do that to the people with the people we love, just to reach out and like, how are you?
Yeah.
I know tomorrow might be really shitty for you because everyone's
Yeah.
celebrating and you're sad. So
It would have been a good move. Pro move even maybe.
yeah. I don't know that I expected them necessarily to do it, but
No, no.
it would have been a thoughtful thing to do.
Yeah, yeah. Just throwing it out there as
Yeah,
a
yeah. I don't.
side
Is it
conversation to think about.
I think there were mistakes made all around here. I'm not. Oh, so if we're going to render verdicts here, I'm not willing to call either OP or the daughter-in-law an asshole. I think both of them handled this poorly.
And I will go a little further. I think they both had their opportunity to shine in Sucksville here. I think their behavior sucked, as
Okay.
described by the post. I want to be really clear. I'm not
Sure.
convinced that this post is objectively written, especially based on the daughter-in-law's response. I could
Uh,
see a world in which,
yeah.
mother-in-law is maybe honest about her own behavior and then dials up the negativity of
Yeah.
the response of the daughter-in-law.
Oh,
We
totally.
don't
I could
know,
totally
but
see
we don't
that. Like,
know. So
daughter-in-law called and said, "Oh, like I was feeling really
yeah,
hurt,"
yeah,
and that gets translated to she don't know where her basket is. So
right.
I could see that. I
Yeah.
could see that.
All right. Michael, what did the internet have to say?
Oh
What did we
boy.
miss?
The
They tend to be
internet.
less kind and understanding than we are sometimes.
So
Oh,
the internet, I love the way you guys talked about thinking about the decision to become a mother, whether that results in offspring or not, as being kind of the important piece here. And because I think that embraces a lot of the side conversations that the internet had, about, what about mothers who have lost children? What about all, adoptive mothers and all these other things that sometimes aren't thought of in the traditional black and white. You produced a child yourself, you are a mother, therefore this thing. And so I like the way you guys talked about that. The internet definitely got hung up on dog child equivalency. Are these the same? And that choice, and there were
Oh,
lots of
I love that
conversations.
phrase, dog child equivalency.
I'll put it on a t-shirt.
it shall live forever in the canon of AITA Veritas Views.
But they definitely got hung up on that. The one conversation that I thought was interesting that maybe you didn't really touch on was, and I'll say more about their verdict here in a second, but before we get to that, the idea, that these holidays are literally invented, and yet people hold them up as like canon. Like there's a special thing that you have to do to get into it, and yet, they were invented by Hallmark to produce, cards. And I'm not saying that we shouldn't celebrate
No, no,
mothers
no.
and
Quick,
fathers.
quick shout out and request to Hallmark and card making companies. You are missing a market here, which is the very bland, acknowledge the holiday Mother's and Father's Day card for those people who have an incredibly difficult relationship with their parents.
Oh,
The number of times I've had clients be like, I cannot pick out a card because everything is too mushy, and my parents
oh,
are perfectly okay, and I'll send them a card, and that's about it. Card makers, can you please?
I
There's a
know.
line of
I've
cards
had
here for you. It
yes,
will
people
sell.
pick.
I promise.
I went to the store and I picked up the card and it said to the best mom ever.
Yeah.
No,
Right?
mom, you were always there for me. Oh no,
Oh,
not that one. Mom, you're the perfect.
no.
No, I love you, mom. Okay, like
Or simply, Happy Mother's Day.
happy Mother's Day.
Hope you
Thank
have a
you
great
for
day.
thank you for deciding to produce a child. I really appreciate the fact that you did not use birth control that night. Um, and that was better. So like, I mean that like sometimes that's the card, maybe.
Yeah.
You know.
Anyway,
And,
sorry
and
for
yet
the.
I'll say sometimes, the Happy Mother's Day on the outside and then blank inside might be how you feel, but it's also hard to fill that blank space too. So
Blanket side.
Just looking inside the car going,
Okay. I'm sorry. I took us
Yeah,
on a tangent, but I've been
that's
wanting
okay.
to just shout out
Yeah.
during this episode, since we're talking about these parent day
Oh,
things, that,
yeah.
the bland card has a market here. Michael,
For
please
sure. Yeah.
continue
Anyway, so like
the
the
internet in
point
there.
really was like, why are you making such a big deal about this? To your point, she has tried to have children. This is clearly something she wants. It feels, exclusive for no real good reason to not include her in this thing. And even if you just think about the fairness of like, I have three I have three daughters-in-laws, or I can't remember exactly what the math was, and I'm giving two of them something and one of them not. Like,
No, I have no problem with that.
that seems problematic. Even if you
No,
sent flowers and said, "Thinking of you on this difficult day," or I don't know, like so.
I don't have a problem with that.
I don't have a problem with it, except
It's
for the
Mother's Day.
fact that she had an intention to become a parent.
If
And
the yes,
if she hadn't been trying and she was the only one not on a path toward parenthood, then fine, 2 or 3 is fine. I'm not trying to say, hey, everything has to be equal, fair. But because
oh
she had made this decision, she now, for me, falls in that camp.
yeah, and I have adult kids, and I'm nearly certain at some point there'll be a Mother's Day where one set it has a child and the other does not. And unless I'm aware of some fertility thing or some efforts or some problem, I can nearly 100% see myself providing a gift on Mother's Day and an acknowledgement on Mother's Day for the one and completely doing nothing for the other.
And you hit on something. We don't know. We've been assuming that this
Right.
mother-in-law knows about the fertility journey. And I
Sure.
alluded at it earlier, and I'll say it again. We don't know that. So it is
We
possible
don't.
she has no
She
idea. And
does.
oh, she does.
She
She
Okay.
does.
does.
Yeah,
Okay.
she
All right.
knew
Then
that it was
I
a
then I
problem.
then
So
she needed to do something there because
Yeah.
if I knew that one was like on this journey and knowing this
sure.
discomfort and this awful thing, it would absolutely be acknowledgement for both. But I just said if one had a baby and the other hadn't had a baby, I wouldn't have like
Yeah.
out of a sense of fairness given this one something and not this one. I would have given hey Happy Mother's Day and then the other one would have been like
Yeah.
Happy Thursday. It's Sunday. Like let's we're having people over.
Yeah, I feel
Anyway,
like you guys hit on almost all the things the internet did. In general, the ruling was you're not the asshole, and because so many people sided with the human dog equivalency thing, like these are not the same thing. The Mother's Day is for this, and she is not that, so therefore you're fine. There was a minor contingent. The next step down was everybody's sexier. Essentially, what you guys kind of came to, soft everyone's sexier. Like everybody could have done something different and better. And then, some people did say, like, you're the asshole. And most of those were people who had had infertility struggles. And they said, like, I am a father involved in a situation like this. I am a mother, and you are the asshole, and this is why. And I will tell you
All
why.
All right. I'll give him that.
Yeah. But thanks both for another riveting debate and a glimpse into the collective conscience of internet forums. Remember, morality and days like this are often shades of gray and not just black or white.
and I want everybody to remember this idea of kind of both and. We can celebrate and you can have difficult feelings about the day, and both are true. So just remember to be kind, be gentle, and thoughtful on days like this.
Yeah. Yeah. Agreed.
Yeah. Please follow and share Veritas Views on any of the podcast platforms with your neighbors and friends. And as always, stick around through the credits for the bonus conversation. And I'm going to throw it at them both this time. So I got the question.
You can follow Dr. Dan Kessler at Dr. Dan Kessler and Dr. Gayle MacBride at Dr. G. MacBride. Oh, and you can find them both at veritaspp.com. Credits. Tickling the Ivories, Matthew Reddington. Art, production, and design, bringing this show together with flair and finesse, Michelle Love. Recording and editing, turning chaos into something worth sharing, Michael MacBride. Intro, outro, I'm Kelly Buttrick, a VO talent who just happens to be Dr. MacBride's cousin. Cats, CJ, Linus, Sadie, and Griffin. Hosting by whomever lost the coin flip. Interruptions by all their children. The content of this podcast is for informational and educational purposes only and is not a substitute for professional mental health advice, diagnosis, or treatment. Listening to this podcast does not constitute a therapist-client relationship. If you believe you may be experiencing a mental health issue, please seek the assistance of a qualified mental health professional. If you are experiencing a mental health crisis, you can call or text 988 from anywhere in the U.S. to be connected to Crisis Mental Health Services.
Thanks for listening. As promised, here's that bonus conversation. So we've talked about books before, and as a person who loves to read, my question to you is, what non-psychology book has influenced your way of thinking the most? Or which non-psychology book sticks with you the most all these years?
Well, I'll go first because I had a book flash to mind, and it's probably one that I've read maybe the most number of times. It's an older book. I think it was published in the 40s. I could be wrong. Um, by a woman who I believe her name was, I don't believe it was a pen name, Ella Cara Deloria. And she had native Dakota roots. And I lived in Michigan, so the Dakota weren't a people that I was deeply familiar with, but I believe I was introduced to the book in college, and it was just fascinating. It was called Water Lily, and it follows this fictionalized account of this Dakota woman named Water Lily and her life and her children, and did a wonderful job describing culture. Now, my understanding of this book was that she wrote it. It was a much longer book, but because women didn't publish back in that day, and certainly not Native women, it was truncated and abbreviated. But her writing style was really fascinating. I really enjoyed the stories that she told. They were really vivid and brought me into a world that I was completely unfamiliar with. I probably assigned in my anthropology class. I loved it. I really appreciate the professor who assigned it, and I read it multiple times. So that's what comes to me at a non-psychology level.
And I'll just jump in real quick. Yes, it was written in the 40s, not published until 1988,
Oh, yeah.
because, like you said, it wasn't traditionally something, but Deloria lived from 1871 to 1971. So unfortunately, she never saw her book come to press.
Oh, well, that's too bad. It was well done, and I appreciate it.
Yeah. What about you, Dan?
I got nothing. Yeah, unfortunately, Michael, one of the bland and milk toasty things about me is that there often isn't like the yes, here's my one thing, and I just don't. I wish I had that. Like, here's what it is. There are a few things that I think are really really meaningful and valuable, but I don't know that I've got that right now in my head to answer the question for you, Michael.
That's
I'm
fine.
sorry
That's okay. I
that I have
appreciate
failed you in this case.
You shared with me the Laszlo letters, which were a hilarious book. So I didn't know if there'd be something like that just, sometimes it's those books that you come across in some way and they just stick with you for some reason. But anyway, I'll leave a link to that if anybody wants to learn more about those. It was a hilarious collection of letters, and I really appreciate it. So, but anyway, thanks everyone for tuning in. Tune in next week for a whole nother Am I the Asshole debate.
We love hearing from you, so please review us on Apple, Spotify, or, well, wherever you're listening. If you enjoyed this podcast, please review, like, and follow. Also, give it a share. This helps us reach more listeners.